Welcome to the visionarywoman.com.
Women eating foods that are really bad for them. I'm coaching people and they'll often say, well, I can't give it up. I can't give it up. In fact, I was coaching this one guy. I practice martial arts. I love it. I'm very passionate about women's self-defense. And I love powerful women and empowering women. So I know your group tends to be business women and very powerful women. But it's interesting to me how even some of the most powerful people, including this one man that I was coaching, he was an 8th degree black belt and an undercover police officer. And he said to me, I can't give up. I can't give up soda and chips. I just can't do it. And I looked at him and I'm like, I'm confused. Help me out with this. You're an 8th degree black belt. You are a karate champion. You're an undercover police officer. You've done drug busts, but you can't give up soda and chips. I'm confused. All of those things are hard. Being sick is hard. Getting an MBA is hard. Becoming a doctor is hard. Having a baby is hard. This isn't hard. It's a mindset shift. And so I said, so you've won all of these fights, but you're going to lose to a 12-ounce can of soda, the biggest fight of your life. You think about this like a relationship. Okay, when I hear that, I think, okay, those are the women that like to date the bad boys. Okay, so you date the bad boys, right? They're intriguing, they're exciting, a little tasty, right? So you go after those bad boys, but they don't love you back. You love them, they don't love you back. They are beating the hell out of you, right? Okay. They're abusive. They're beating the hell out of you, but you keep going back going, I can't give it up. Like, do you know what you sound like? It's a victim mentality. Because when you love something that's not loving you back, it's hurting you. But when you love something, so when you have to break that addiction, because it's literally addictive. So, and it's not totally your fault. Okay, so it's the food industry. This is why our new book is called The Brain Warrior's Way, because it's a war. So, and I know a lot of people don't want to think about war, but if you've ever been sick, or you've been addicted to bad foods or drugs or alcohol, or you take care of something, it's a war. And the food industry, the advertising industry, the media, they're feeding that war. This industry they're actually food scientists that are creating foods that if they're the only way they win, the market share is they create foods that are more addictive than the other companies. And there are certain combinations of foods that literally trigger the pleasure center in your brain. The same part of the brain, it's called the Nucleus Accumbens, but it's the part of the brain that is triggered by cocaine and morphine and pornography. So it's the same part of the brain that you keep hitting that pleasure center. But guess what? Sugar and certain types of like fake fats, trans fats, that combination actually triggers more cells in the nucleus accumbens than drugs do. So you are more addicted to that. It's easier to break up with drugs than it is with sugar, especially because sugar's legal. So it's basically a legal recreational drug for a second. So one of the main problems with eating bad food is, so your gut, if your gut's not healthy, nothing in your body is healthy, including your brain. So when I think of your audience for a second, so let's talk about entrepreneurs and business people. In that realm, your brain is your competitive advantage. If your brain's not healthy, nothing else in your life is healthy. You don't make good decisions. No. And so when I start talking about food, people are like, what does that have to do with my brain? It has everything to do with your brain. And it starts with your gut. Okay, so when you talk about you are what you eat, that's actually literally true, and here's why. So when your gut's not healthy, nothing in your life is healthy, including your brain. Because 80% of the neurotransmitters, 80% of the serotonin, which is a transmitter, it's your don't worry, be happy, it makes you feel settled and confident and all these things, in your body is made in your gut. So a lot of these neurotransmitters are made in your gut. Not only that, your gut directly communicates with your brain. Right. And then you also absorb your nutrients from your gut. And if your gut's not healthy, you can't absorb nutrients, you can't make vitamin K. So all of these things begin to break down. And then you start to have autoimmune reactions. And you have 100 trillion bugs in your gut. And if you don't have 85% good bugs to 15% bad bugs, that should be about the ratio, then you start to have serious problems. But when you eat bad food, you take too many, say, antibiotics or too many things like ibuprofen, or you drink too much alcohol, all of those things wipe out your good bugs and they promote the bad bugs. And when those bad bugs take over, guess what? It affects your brain function, and that affects your pocketbook. It affects everything you do. You are what you eat, literally. You become depressed, you become sick, and you don't make good decisions. I was a really sick kid. I had cancer 3 times. And so for me, it's like fighting a war. For you, for moms like you that take care of kids who are sick, for anybody who's been sick, it's a war. And a lot of women will say, but I don't like the idea of war, and I don't like the idea of fighting. Well, I didn't either, but guess what? I had to be in it anyways.
Right,
so
right.
the reason that I like this analogy of being a warrior is because you can be a peaceful warrior. So I love the saying, I practice martial arts, and the student says to the master, "Master, why do you speak of peace but teach me to fight?" And the master says back, "Because it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war." So you can be peaceful if you know the tools. And it's about shifting your mindset. So if you've got the tools and you really know, so when someone says to me, how are you so disciplined? How are you so disciplined to not eat foods, that taste so good? I don't want to deprive myself. So I look at that, say, cupcake or donut or whatever it is. And for me, it's not really about discipline. I've literally shifted my mindset so much, and it's authentic, it's legitimate. I've shifted it so much, and I don't do it perfectly. No one's saying you need to be perfect, okay? But about 95% of the time would be good. So I look at that muffin or that donut, and see, for me, I don't see that as deprivation that I'm not eating it. I look at that donut or that muffin, and I've been so sick, and I know what it causes. And I look at it and I think to myself, that is hell right there. That's pain waiting to happen, because I've been there. I've done that. And I'm not going back. I've been so depressed, I wished I would die. So I'm not going back to that place. You have to take me kicking, screaming, and drag me. And I'm not going back. So I'm not going back to cancer. See, for me, the joy, the abundance is being able to sit here and pass on my message. God gave me a second chance. And to not take that second chance, to use it to help people, would be an insult to God. So it's that shift in mindset. And so now the abundance is, I've written 8 books teaching people and showing them with 400 recipes. This is not about deprivation. You just have to use the big brain God gave you to be creative, because the food God created is actually delicious. It's man that screwed it all up. When you balance your hormones, when you balance your blood sugar, when you do all these things, the weight comes off. Yes, you will lose weight, but that's the side effect. You have to focus on healthy first, okay? And it's not about being skinny, because guess what? That isn't healthy either. It's about being strong. It's about being empowered with information. It's about your brain working properly. And you have to have muscle on your body. You can't be skinny. That's not actually good either. It's about health. This is not about, whatever society has decided is a good thing. Because really, and pardon my French on this, the masses are the asses. So you have to be your own best advocate and be a warrior, and don't follow the crowd. We always ask people in our Brain Warriors course, are you a sheep? Which sheep are docile, they don't mean any harm, but they're really stupid. They'll follow other sheep off a cliff. Or are you a sheepdog? Are you protective? Are you thinking for yourself? Are you gonna do what it takes to save your flock, even if that love isn't returned, even if it's a little uncomfortable and painful? Will you fight the wolf? Ones who probably had a mom who was home and doing this. Unfortunately for a lot of us in this, my generation and up, I had a single working mom. She was a 16-year-old runaway. She was taking care of which went back home to take care of me, a quadriplegic dad, a diabetic mother, and a heroin addicted brother. So it was a mess. There was chaos and trauma and drama. There was no time for cooking. My mom was working 3 jobs, and she's an awesome person, super successful today, amazingly against all the odds. But she's one of those people, your audience, she's the American dream. She made it. But because of that, it meant there was, for me, it was the Tiger, the Captain, it was all of those cereals. Those were my friends. They were my comfort, and that was what we could afford. So because our government subsidizes sugar and corn syrup and white flour, that's what we could afford. That's what we had time for. I grew up eating cereal and TV dinners, frozen TV dinners, and that was it. So most of America, when they're poor, they're more like I was. And they end up call it a tribe, and your tribe matters, because tribes, people are contagious. So happiness is spread through community. Diabetes is spread through community. Disease is spread through community. Happiness and depression are all spread through community. If people in your community are sick, you're more likely to be sick. If they die early, you're more likely to die early. If they're overweight, you're more likely to be overweight. If they are healthy, you're more likely to be healthy, because there's this thing called peer pressure, and also support and accountability. So the people you spend time with literally affect the length and the quality of your life. So if I were you, I would think really hard about the people in your community, or become a leader. So you either have to be the change you want to see happen and be really committed to it, and start to affect that change in your community or change your community. When I first started out, I was like, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I was trying to drag people along, and I finally realized I can't be more invested than other people are, but I can love them. So it's through education, number one, and acceptance. So we teach by a paradigm, a framework called mastery. So it's mindset, assessment, sustenance, triggers and training, and then E is essence, which is your why does it matter? Why is the world a better place? Because you breathe. And then responsibility, so we teach responsibility, and then years long. How do you do this for years long? So it's this framework. But within that framework of mindset and essence, there's a very spiritual component, and there's a component of compassion and acceptance. And we don't change people by being angry at them and telling them that they have to do it. We do it through understanding. We do it through, helping them to understand what's happening with them. Like, for example, so I'm going to use Angie. Angie is a person in my community. She lost 103 pounds in a year. And how did she do that? She was in Jenny Craig when she was 8 years old. She was a closet eater. So she would literally lock herself in the closet as a little girl and just pig out. And she never understood. She felt like a failure, all this stuff. But what happened was, when she found our program, she said, oh my gosh, it's the first time I had hope, because I realized it wasn't me, it was what food was doing to me. So we have to teach people that you do have a certain responsibility. You do have to discipline your inner child, just the way you would your child. Right. But at the same time, you have to know and be aware that it is a war, because the food companies are doing this. So education about what's happening, why you are truly addicted, all of these things. And then we have to give you the tools to fight it. If you're armed and prepared, you can fight that war. But you got to have the knowledge and the tools to do that. And you need a community of people that are supportive. So it's not just about accountability and telling you, oh, you have to do it. It's about, look, we understand, we love you. Your tribe is your success or your failure. It matters. But people who have been through stress, so people who are affected by stress, if you think negatively of the stress in your life and the negative experiences from your childhood and all these things, you're 30% more likely to die of those stress-related issues. Yes. But people who help other people who spend time encouraging and helping other people and using their pain as purpose, 0. It increases your risk of death related to that stress by 0, because we're a pair-bonded species, and it increases your oxytocin. So when you help someone else, it makes them feel good, which makes you feel good. So what you're doing to help the world is going to help you live longer. It's going to help them live longer, and it's going to help you live longer.
TheVisionaryWoman.com. Watch our host of insightful video exchange interviews. Listen to the Visionary Woman Hotspot Talk Radio to empower your evenings, and read fascinating articles of inspiration and perseverance, all with you in mind. Visit us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.